Is it me or you?
I think it's you. It's often you.
It's always me.
Okay.
So I will be talking in English, but if you feel like you want to ask questions at the end in Serbian, that's also fine.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's on. Yes, I think it's on now. Okay. Now everybody, hopefully you have a good time over here. We will keep it a little bit light because there was already quite a lot of knowledge, quite a lot of, I think, also about. Finally, someone who explained really clearly the term of trauma, and I think it's really nice that somebody takes the explanation really to a simplified level. So today we're going to talk about from burnout and empathy fatigue to mindful and a resilient life. Now maybe rewind a couple of years, I think 10 years. I was, as I say, I was doing great. Maybe already that you heard a little bit in the introduction. I had my company in the Netherlands. I was super successful. I think from the first talk, I woke up at 5 in the morning, the 5 a.m. club. I was doing my meditation. I was almost ready to join the CrossFit. I lost the word, but the competition in the Netherlands. Successful business. Everything was great. I was optimizing everything. Only a little bit a challenge was that I also was suffering from addiction. I was using quite a lot of cocaine, other substances, alcohol, work to the max. So I really tried to, I think, adjust my life to really be in the center of attention, that people saw me as someone who is really successful, because if you work hard, if you prestige hard, if you look good, life is great, life is successful. But I think if you read the quote over here, what happens when you try to avoid being human for too long, then the burnout kicks in. And today, we really love to explain a little bit more about some, I think, 3 elements that are really helpful to use as a fundament to use, I think, all the things that you learned today to really create more mindful and a resilient life.
So that's a little bit Andre's story. My story here, if we compare Netherlands, Serbia, quite different. So I grew up in Novi Sad, and as you heard from Dolores, I've been a volunteer since literally age of 15, because as Daniel Mate said, there were always people who had worse, and I grew up with that feeling of guilt and not ever being good enough, and I had a lot of, let's say, capital traumas around where I grew up, within my friendships, in my close environment, and I felt from very early age that I have a certain duty, that I need to help people in Novi Sad, in Serbia. So I started volunteering at the age of 15, and of course I didn't pick like light and fun topics. So at the age of 19, I was talking with people on how to prevent suicide. I was volunteering with the addicts at the age of 17, and let's think about all the difficult and capital traumas that you can volunteer at that age. Then I started studying pedagogy, and later on I became an entrepreneur and I started teaching mindfulness. And what happened to me is, especially during COVID, I think, at what time, that my life just became helping other people, and that was my life purpose. I had to help other people, not just in my profession, but also in my private life. If my friends would have problems, they would come to me. Everybody were calling me. I was that person, as Daniel Mate said, I was that person that you can call in the middle of the night that would just drop out everything and come to your rescue. But that came at a certain price. So at one moment in my life, I realized that I'm becoming a little bit tired of people, that I really can't listen to their problems and their issue anymore. I started becoming impulsive, I started becoming selfish, I started becoming very negative, pessimistic, and I realized I'm a little bit done, with saving the world. I just want to save myself. And that is something that we call empathy fatigue. So I was suffering from empathy fatigue. And it's not such a famous term. Most people are familiar with burnout, but empathy fatigue really changes your value system, how you perceive the world, and also it kind of creates this lack of empathy for others. And if you're a type of person who describes yourself as an empathic and a compassionate person, then losing that empathy is a very big toll on your mental health and how you feel. So when we and Andre met, we were both on a certain crossroad with our own stories. He was recovering from burnout, from addiction, and I was actually just entering my empathy fatigue. So it was a kind of mix of two people who had to resolve a lot of their own issues, but at the same time still keep on working and helping others.
So yeah, I think this is shortly described how it felt for us, jumping over a cliff and build your wings on the way down. It's not really to recommend. I think it's better maybe to say it a little bit different, but maybe before we continue, we are Andre and Vesna van Kempen. Normally we are helping, I think at the moment more organizations in bringing mental fitness to the workplace, because seeing new, there's quite a lot of young people in the audience. Really nice. I think that's maybe certain workshops or lectures that I needed to join, but I think I joined more the IT and more the lectures like how to even become more strong and how to become even better. So what we really want to do today is to focus on how can we build together our wings before we jump. And because it's in the team of Tesla, we thought, let's give an easy blueprint how we can build those wings in just 3 simple steps. So today, I think Vesna is going to talk mostly about it, about how to build resilience and prevent yourself for a certain crash that I made as a burnout and Vesna made as empathy fatigue.
So it's really important to maybe first break down which are certain myths and misconceptions that we have about what is resilient. Many people think that, especially here in the Balkan, we think that being resilient means you always need to be strong and you always need to be happy and cheerful, and when you have a problem, you just shut up and move on, because there is no time for your complaining. And that's actually not true, because being resilient is our ability to recover from life challenges and life difficulties. But that doesn't mean that we pretend that it's all fine and that we don't seek help and that we don't find the ways how to help ourselves. So today, I will be explaining a little bit these 3 steps, just as a foundation, just as a basic, but each of these steps actually contains a lot of elements, a lot of practice on how you can start with developing your own resilience. And this is actually adapted from a certain program that we teach, and it's called Mindful Self-Compassion. Because I believe that one of the biggest obstacles for us being resilient is because we're not being self-compassionate. It's easy to be compassionate towards other people, towards their suffering, towards their struggles. It's easy for us. We are even proud that we are empathic towards others, but when it comes to giving that same support and comfort, we see it as self-pity, we see it as weakness. We think that we don't deserve this empathy. And I definitely recommend to read the book of Daniel and Gabor Mate, because they actually even mention the importance of that compassion that we need to nurture in relationship with ourselves. So,
yeah, and I think also, like in the first talk, you heard a lot of things that you can do to really improve your life, to improve your sleep, to improve your health, your fitness, your mental well-being. I think if I go back to, say, 10 years ago, I was focusing on all those things. But I think a really important part that was missing, I wasn't connected to myself. I didn't felt how I was feeling. I was numbing myself. I was just keep on going. I think I was addicted to work. I was addicted to substance, but also everything needed to continue and move fast. And I think also that's really why we wanted to invest today time in really the basics. Because we really believe if we don't have the basics right, the other things make no sense. Like if we don't feel ourselves, we can maybe keep on going with exercising, but we never will feel when it's enough, or maybe when it needs to be a little bit more. So I should say, take the stage, and maybe before, a simple question to ask maybe. Do you know how to calm yourself down when facing with difficult emotions and stressful situations?
If yes, just raise your hand. Okay, there are still some people. That's good to see. Okay, so how do we build that self-awareness? Well, here I will be mostly talking from the mindfulness perspective. And I know that many people of you never heard about mindfulness, or many people think they know what mindfulness is, but then in practice they actually don't know, and that's totally okay. And when we talk about mindfulness, for me, that just means being self-aware. For me, mindfulness is literally just basics of everything. You can talk about improving communication, improving conflicts, working on your relationships, your marriage, your relationship with your children, being a good parent if you're not self-aware. If I'm not aware that I'm projecting my unresolved traumas and my own negative thoughts and feelings onto you, then what are we talking about? And there are those people who are also totally not aware of what they like, what they dislike, what makes them uncomfortable, what makes them unpleasant, what triggers them, what is happening inside of them. Maybe the first thing you can do the next time you are facing a stressful situation, ask yourself, which are those, and observe maybe for a week, which are the exact situations that causes you stress? What makes you stressed? Is it always, for example, always seeing that colleague, always asking you questions? Maybe there's something deeper with that colleague that always makes you stressed. Is it always being late? Is it conflicts with people that makes you stressed? Is it saying no that makes you stressed? Just observe yourself for a week. Then also start noticing which are the feelings that you have in these stressful situations. Is it just frustration? Or is it also sadness maybe? Or is it fear? Or is it anger? What is happening? Which are the thoughts you have? I know people are thinking, yeah, it depends on the situation. But maybe you have that recurring thought. Maybe every time something difficult happens, you think to yourself, what a loser I am. Or I can't believe this is happening to me. My kuma has a really good quote that I'm going to say it in Serbian. Whenever she's stressed and something negative happens, she always say, u ovoj našoj državi. And then we know that she's stressed. Because for her, it's everything, it's always the government and the country that is responsible for something. The other thing that people are often not aware of is what happens inside of your body. Do you feel like you want to punch someone? Like that you have this energy in your fists? Do you feel like you have something in your throat? Do you feel pain and tension in your chest? Just start observing this, because sometimes this can be a sign that something's wrong. So sometimes you might even first notice the body sensation, and then you can maybe calm yourself down and say, oh, wait, I'm getting stressed right now, or I'm getting angry, or I'm getting sad. So just this is just really basic self-awareness that I think we should all start practicing, because I think then we will notice when we're acting impulsively, when we're doing something, when we're making maybe some decisions that aren't good for us, or when we are stepping in a conflict that maybe sometimes is needed, maybe sometimes it's really not needed. So that's the first thing.
Yeah, and I think also, like our practice, we call it mental fitness. Because we all know physical fitness, it's creating muscles, it's creating a better body, maybe something that I need to do a little bit more often. But it's what we call it's mental fitness. And I think it's the same that we also need to create a certain habit to do it daily. Like we can take a shower and really try to feel how is the water going over my body? Or maybe when I'm eating, put away your phone, have a breakfast and maybe try to have the senses, the taste, really try to practice those things in unstressful situations. So we can use it when we are stressed. It's the same with fitness or with exercising or even Olympics. They train before the game. And I think it's the same what we need to do to really try to recognize those feelings, those emotions, those thoughts, so we can become aware of it when we are really in stressful situations.
And I think also one important part, when we talk about practicing, like this is practicing being self-aware, practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to sit and meditate. And I know many people are going to say, oh, I'm not into meditation, I think too much, I don't like it, and so on. Okay, you don't have to do meditation, but try with this thing. Try picking one thing that you do daily, every day. Hopefully you all shower every day. Wash your teeth, I don't know, walk somewhere, hopefully get out of the house or whatever. Something that you do daily. Try doing that thing every day mindfully, meaning you're totally doing it focused. You pay attention to what you do. So for example, if I'm eating my breakfast, I'm not scrolling through Instagram, and I'm not watching television, I'm not working on my laptop, I'm just eating my breakfast. If, for example, you're showering, don't use the showering to think about all the things you need to do. But just pay attention to how your body feels when you shower each morning or when you brush your teeth. That's mindfulness. Just being in the present moment and observing what's happening. Because what is happening then, somebody today, I think he mentioned also neuroplasticity of the brain, we are actually learning how to pay attention. And we are practicing this paying attention, so when a real crisis happens, my mind knows that pattern of going back to the present and observing. When there is stress, we get overwhelmed by emotions and thoughts. But what we need to do is we need to kind of step away from it and just observe. These are just thoughts and emotions. This doesn't tell anything about me as a person, but we get pulled in the stress.
So the next question, are you a self-critical person?
If yes, just raise your hand.
Some yeses. If you're still thinking about it, I think then you are.
So one other important element of building that resilience is actually changing that inner dialogue that we have with ourselves. We are mostly more critical of ourselves than of other people. Like, we're usually the ones that, when a person tells us their problem, we're there for them, we give advice, we understand, we say to our friend, oh, it's okay, it's not such a big of a deal, or so on. But when we make a mistake, we're being very cruel mostly towards ourselves. And the worst sentences you probably said to someone, it's actually the sentences you said to yourself. So the next time, when you're facing that, let's say, negative inner dialogue, and just think about certain situations when you maybe are judging yourself. Become aware of those feelings, thoughts, and those body sensations, and then you can ask yourself the following questions. You can move on. What would a close friend or somebody who knows you really well tell you in this situation? Hopefully you have good friends, so they would be kind to you. They wouldn't say, what an idiot are you? So think about what would a close friend, somebody who loves you unconditionally, say to you in this situation that is supportive. If for you it's difficult to think in this way, think, what would I say to a friend who would come to me with my problem as an advice or as a support? How would he or she talk with me? And pay attention, here it's really important, pay attention to the sound of your voice. Because often, maybe you don't say so critical and harsh words to yourself, but maybe they sound really cynical and ironic, For example, I don't maybe say such a cruel, sentences to myself, but they sound really cynical, like this middle-aged, old, pissed-off man, and they're really mean. That's how my inner critic sounds like. Sometimes it's just the tone. And if you feel like, oh, I don't have an inner critic, I'm not self-critical, maybe it's not the voice in your head, but maybe it's actually the body sensation. Maybe you constantly blush, you get totally red, or you get paralyzed, you get stressed. That's also your inner critic. And then, when you face certain challenge, when you face certain difficulty, or you make a mistake, maybe ask yourself, how have I changed and grown from this experience? What lessons have I learned? And I really love this question. What do I know about myself now that I didn't know before? Because often those life challenges, those failures, those tough times, they always bring a certain lesson. And we always learn something about ourselves that we didn't know before. And from many of my difficult experiences in life, what I learned is actually I'm way more stronger than I think. I'm way more resilient than I think. And then for the future, like ask yourself, what do I wish or what are my ideas, how my life should look forward, after this mistake or after this failure or after this challenge. And all these questions me and Andre need to ask ourselves in the last 4 years of our relationship and marriage. And it wasn't always easy, I'm not gonna lie, but it needed some work on all of this and all these elements. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I think it also, for me, when I became aware that I was addicted, when I was working on my addiction, it was really separating myself from my old self. I was almost disgusted by that person because he fucked up his whole life. He blew his career. He did everything wrong. He threw everything away. But really by going through those questions and really, in a certain way, have compassion for that other self of me, really created for me the respect, like, okay, but maybe I was blowing my life, but besides that, I was also creating a company that's, at the moment, it still exists, and it is #1 in the Netherlands when it comes to e-commerce. So it really took a long time, and I think it's also important to give yourself that time. It's also, with those questions, if you're inner critic, don't go directly with the most challenging question, but just do it slowly and gentle and really, be kind for yourself. And I think this is maybe the most important one. When you face challenges, difficulties and stressful situations in life, do you have a supportive and encouraging person you can talk to? And then we really mean a person that you can talk to, someone who really listens, someone who maybe even understands what's really going on. And
Yes, if yes, raise your hand.
Nice.
That's
The
good
one who
to see.
didn't raise the hand, here's someone who maybe has time.
So this part I found really important, and I'm really going to say my personal experience and from being in the whole well-being, personal development, psychology, psychotherapy industry in the last 7/8, 9 years, we tend to neglect the part of relationships and how relationships with other people are important. Now it's all be your best version, be your best self. We get obsessed with self-improvement. We get obsessed with being our best selves. But one thing that we keep on forgetting is, and then it's also like now, learn how to put boundaries, learn how to say no, and get out all those toxic people from your life, all those narcissists because you're so great. But that kind of isolates us, and that kind of doesn't resolve that maybe we sometimes need to step in and actually work on those relationships instead of constantly working on ourselves. The whole part of personal development and growth and healing is also you heal through a relationship with others. You're not going to go on a hill and you're going to heal and then you're going to live alone like that for the rest of your life. You still need to go back to your family, to your society. And I say the biggest test for your growth and healing is just have a lunch with all your cousins and all your families, and if you stay calm and stay good with everyone, then you did an amazing job. If you still get triggered and pissed off by, I don't know, a comment your mother says or joke your dad makes, then there's obviously still some work to be done. So I think it's important that we all go back a little bit more to that common humanity instead of isolation, because that's a tendency that we have when we're facing those difficult moments. For example, maybe you have a lot of friends, maybe you're close with a lot of people, but maybe there is nobody with who you can truly share how you really feel and what's really going on. And maybe there are no actual friends with who can you be really vulnerable because you're afraid, because you're ashamed, because you think you're the only one going through difficulties and pain and troubles. And I think what I learned in the last years is that we all been through challenges and tough times in life. And maybe my challenges are totally different than yours, and probably they are, and yours are totally different than mine. But here, everybody in this room knows what a challenge is. We all know what a struggle is. We all know what pain is. We all know what difficult emotions are. We all know that. And that is the part of common humanity. That is what makes us humans. And that's what makes us closer to each other. And I think that's the part that we keep on forgetting with the whole personal development story, because it's all about me. But I think we need to step back and work together more. And these are some maybe advices that can help you build those stronger relationships with other people in your life. Practice patience, non-judgment, and beginner's mind. We all have a tendency to judge each other, and that's fine. I mean, we all have judgments. And I'm not saying you should just like walk around and like, oh, I like everyone, they're so nice, you know. I'm not saying that. But pay attention to those judgments you make, because often we get pulled in those judgments. You meet someone, you directly have an opinion, oh, she reminds me of this person, oh, I know what she's like. Pay attention to that, notice them, and really put your attention back on the person you're talking with. And be curious about those judgments that you have. Maybe it's what Daniel was saying, maybe it's a trauma, maybe it's a certain trigger, maybe it's something unresolved inside of you, maybe you're projecting your own stuff, I want to say your own shit, on someone else, you know? And have beginner's mind. These are 3 mindfulness attitudes, actually, and that's one part that people don't know about mindfulness. They think, oh, it's just meditating and some tools and techniques. Mindfulness has certain values when you practice them, and one of the values is beginner's mind, meaning that you try to do everything like you're doing it for the first time in your life. It's the same how you approach relationship with other people. Why do we like children so much? Because they all have beginner's mind. They're so innocent, they're so curious, they want to know everything. And we as an adults, we're so proud about how much we know. You know, we're so smart, you know, and we know so many things. We understand everything and everyone. And then often, that actually is what takes the magic away. Because if you really know everything, then how can you enjoy life? How can you enjoy relationships? How can you get closer if you already know everything, you know? If that's how you're going to live your life, then you're going to lose that spark of joy. You're going to lose that excitement. And that's what we're practicing in mindfulness, but also when we talk about relationships. And then also think about those close relationships you already have, how much you're investing your time in it, and why is that relationship important to you, and how are you contributing to make that relationship even stronger? Are you even contributing? Do you even pay attention to close people in your life? And for people maybe who are too empathic, who like to help too much other people, you know, who have a tendency towards empathy fatigue like I have, notice what is happening inside of you during a conversation you have with someone. If you're that type of person that you get pulled in and you want to help and you're totally focused, you really listen, I assume you're a great friend, but from time to time, bring attention back to yourself. What thoughts do I have during these conversations? What feelings I have when I listen to other people? What is happening inside of me? And notice when maybe it's too much, when maybe you're getting overwhelmed. Maybe you have a friend who has depression, and it's really good and nice that you want to help your friend, but watch out that you don't get overwhelmed by someone's story. I'm not saying you should be selfish and say, oh, I don't care. No, but just take a moment and pause for yourself. We have really good exercise in self-compassion. It's called one breath for me, one breath for you. I inhale self-compassion for myself and exhale compassion for you. So I'm there for you, but I'm also there for myself. Why? Because then I can be a friend to you for a longer period of time. I don't become passive-aggressive after a certain time because I was constantly giving without asking anything in return.
Okay, so this was, I think, a little bit the talk that we had in mind. We thought it's the last one, just we don't make it too long. But another nice thing that we like to announce, and we are really happy that Igor gave us a chance to make people aware of our new program. Our program calls Dare to be Human. It really consists like all the elements that we already showed before. And I think the coolest part, it's a free program for the youth between 20 and 30. We already did one edition before COVID. I think it's funny, it was 3 years ago. We were standing here and we were pitching our program. only the responses that we got was the youth is not interested in well-being or mental health. It's a blended program, so they said, but who is going to join a blended education program?
Online learning, yeah, nobody's interested in that.
Online, then COVID happened, so I think now it's the right time to relaunch our program. We did one cohort. If you go to the landing page, you can find some testimonials from, I think they were all from Novi Sad. I think some from Belgrade who also joined.
Yes.
So it's the new edition, Dare to Lead Your Life. We will help you to create better leadership skills, to also improve a little bit more companionship, like what Vesna explained about more the common humanity part. So to give you a little bit the idea of what you can expect, we made a short trailer. I hope that it's going to play now. Elsewhere, I maybe need to press one more time. Yes. Maybe also audio.
Today's youth live in a hard and fast-changing world. These youngsters are surrounded by numberless problems, like substance abuse, peer pressure, materialism, violence, and bullying in schools. They're losing track, which in turn makes them feel depressed, anxious, insecure, and even self-destructive or suicidal. It's difficult for them to see and discover who they are and where they want to be in life. Because they're encouraged to believe that everything needs to be bigger, faster, and fancier these days. The lack of inspirational role models and appropriate support from adults or family decreases the understanding of the basic fundamentals of life. How to feel, accept, love, connect, act from their own heart and strength.
It's time to shift and invest in the future, because the youngsters are the pillars of social, economic and political development. We dare you to invest in the future.
So we can create together with our amazing team of experts a free 7 weeks experiential learning program for youth. Mindfulness-based approaches combined with modern psychology methods. We call it Dare to be Human. A blend of different learning styles mixed with the best offline and online learning experience. To boost engagement, keep a personal touch, and to make scaling possible, so we can make a real impact in the world.
Dare to change, feel, accept, love, connect, act. We dare you to invest, so we can dare the youth to be human.
So there are quite some young people here. We really invite you to apply, because we're also going to have some amazing experts that already confirmed. So it's not just the two of us, international experts. I'm not going to say Daniel Mate as well.
And I think also for the people who are older than 30 and who maybe love to support us in investing or with collaborating,
Partnering.
please partner up with us, connect us with the right people, because the first edition we financed by ourselves, but the second one we really want to go big, because I think it's more needed than ever. So thanks for your attention.
Thank you. And if you have any questions,
And if there are any questions,
yeah, if there are any
I
questions.
think there's still maybe some time left.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah?
Yes.
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 For now it is.
Hello. Question for Andre. How did you cope, and how did you overcome the burnout? And what steps would you now recommend for burnout recovery?
I think the biggest step was allowing myself to accept that I had a burnout, Because if I look back, I think it was already playing for a lot of years, but it's like, oh, it doesn't happen to me, it always happens to other people. I'm not weak, it's not gonna happen to me. But then just, yeah, when I stepped into the office, really like, okay, let's go for it. We're gonna do another day. And when I came home, I was just, yeah, watching Astro television to sit down and being busy.
It'll come crashing down, right?
So yeah, I think I think really the steps that we explained today really start to become aware when it's enough. And I think really by starting to practice mindfulness, but also becoming more familiar with like the self-compassion, it really helps me. I accepted also, okay, I'm an addict, so I need to regulate I stop drinking, I do things less because I became more mindful. I recognize like, okay, this is enough. And I think I have amazing support
He
network.
came to Serbia.
My wife and Serbia, so it's so the drugs was difficult to find, so that was maybe the ideal part. So yeah,
But I
hopefully
think
that answers your question.
I would add on his question, I mean, as a wife, there was a capital T trauma that was behind his addiction that he needed to work through in therapy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also for sure. I went my spiritual journey, but also I went through therapy. And I think also the program that we created, Dare to Be Human, it's really to show to younger people that it's okay to not be okay. And that there are so many ways to work on it. It's not like in the movies that somebody is laying on a bench and the therapy is sitting there with his notebook. No, it also can be fun and inspiring, and how amazing that you pay someone who listens to your problems for an hour. It's really highly recommendable.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got a question for Andre. Do you feel that addiction helped you in the success of when you were building up your company and focusing on optimizing yourself? And yeah.
I think that the problem is I couldn't feel in that time. So I'm not really sure that I could feel that it was helping me. I think I think it helped me to cope with my problems, to numb myself, so I maybe could focus on building my business. Because maybe if I didn't use the substance, I was maybe too much distracted by the pain that maybe hold me back from doing something. So that's maybe a little bit how I can phrase it. Hopefully that answered the question.
I'm gonna build up on it with one more. Do you feel that your experience with addiction, and now that you've overcome it and applying this mindfulness approach, do you think there are parts of that addiction and the behavior and the things that you went through can now benefit your life in a different aspect?
Yeah, I think the most beautiful thing, I love myself again. I wake up happy. I don't need an external substance to feel good or to feel accepted or to feel respected. So I think that really helps me in my work, and I think also in my daily life, and I think also in my marriage. Because before, yeah, I couldn't have a relationship with myself, but also not with another person. And I think also what Vesna said, important part is common humanity. So if you can't love yourself, that means you can't connect with others. And yeah, it sounds maybe a little bit cheesy, like if you can't love yourself, you can't love someone else. But I really experienced it's true. So try to be kind for yourself, and I think then step by step things will work out.
Oh, there was someone. Oh. can follow.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. I'm interested in the program as a young man. I see it's like a community of other young men and women. And that's why I want to ask about, okay, what is the pricing and the structure? How can I fit it in my schedule? I do like grouply, weekly, daily, especially offline, like in person. What locations are you in? Those things.
Yeah, I can answer. So it's going to be for free. That's what we're really working on. That's why we're also looking for, probably we're going to write some projects and also try to find some sponsors and fundings. But it's going to last 7/maybe 8 weeks. It's going to be once a week, a meeting of 90 minutes with the group of young people. I think the number will be maybe around 20 for the first round. And there's probably also going to be, beside the workshop, there's going to be also expert talks. So we will have international experts that will more answer like Q&A. So first we dive deeper in a workshop format, like more interactive format in certain topic. Then there's a talk with an expert that answers your question. And there's going to be a platform where all the materials are going to be, like the exercises, videos that you can watch. It's going to be in Serbian language. Only, of course, the expert talks probably with translation or just in English, but it's going to be in Serbian, yeah.
Is it just for people who are burning out, or?
No, it's going to be open for everyone. So for everyone, and what we really also had a focus in the last years, we really try to make it diverse, because mostly in these programs you have psychology students and you have girls. And that's really not what we want. Of course, there will probably be a couple of psychology students and girls, but we really try to make it mixed. So when we do the selection, because this is the third time that I'm doing this kind of programs for free, I always try that it's half girls, half guys, and also that it's not just people who are psychotherapists, psychologists, pedagogists, but that we have really people who are studying different things, or maybe not even studying, maybe working, so that it's really diverse. So the most difficult part is actually for me, was when I was picking the participants, is refusing so many psychology students, because they are mostly the ones who apply. So we want to also, maybe we will start with one cohort, but maybe we will try to see if there can be more fitted, so to have more people.
Yeah, and even that we try to create some collaborations with companies, that they maybe can sponsor a cohort, and in return that we also give their employers like the weekly workshops. So we are still working a little bit on the structure. So it really depends on what kind of projects or funding we can find.
And you get picked based on your motivation. So there's going to be probably a certain maybe application that you need to fill in, and motivation. And then based on that, and then probably interviews, how we've done it before, and then based on that we pick. There's no discrimination whatsoever in any way. So maybe there will be people with mental health issues, maybe not. Yeah, it's very diverse how we've done in the past years.
Yeah, and I think it's not a replacement like for psychotherapy, our program, but it's really, we want to inspire and motivate the young people to take that next step. Like from the previous cohort, 50% went afterwards to coaching or psychotherapy. So it's really that we want to, a little bit show what's possible, and that it's...
And probably we will make some collaboration with psychotherapists on the program if needed, like that they're there on the side to support and jump in if somebody of the people will need, if something is trigger up. So it comes up for people so that everybody feels safe. So we will have certain collaborations with psychotherapists as well, because we're not psychotherapists, and the program is not psychotherapy. It's personal development, personal growth.
So if there are no...
I wanted to make big questions today, but because we're at the end, technical question, please. With a lot of self-assessments that I tend to communicate with my close friends, with my family, with things that are growing inside of me, similarly, like you have explained, and I really appreciate the lecture you gave us. So I have all this formats in my tablet with written words, with conclusions that I made, with trigger points, with dynamics that I keep repeating. So it's all around the place. And maybe you would suggest me, like, should I go read them all over again and then make samples? Or how can I structure them? Should I communicate with somebody? I feel sometimes that, for example, I have audio as well, where I recorded some conclusions that I had. I feel like I'm going back, and there is a lot of material, and then I say, okay, there are a few things that I think are important, I might revise, so I don't have a structured system how to approach all this content of conclusions that might help me in my development. So maybe a little bit about that.
Well, it depends. Like, it's really good when you have all these conclusions about yourself and like you practice this self-awareness, but at one moment you, of course, you need to put it in action. Like you need to start with something. And if you feel like you can't do alone, what I always recommend is going to therapy or to coaching to find someone to maybe guide you through, you know, okay, which are the next steps I need to make, what I need to change. Do I need to work on my relationships? You know, do I need to work on my self-esteem? What is the main topic that you find the most crucial at one moment? That's one thing. But then on the other side, if you feel like all this self-analysis is overwhelming for you, maybe you should just stop with it, you know, for a certain time. You know, maybe you just put it aside, you know, and just live. And then see what's going to come up as maybe the most needed. Because I went through that phase when I started with personal development. I was overanalyzing everything. Oh, there's this trauma or there's that trauma. I don't know how to put a boundary. I'm also a people pleaser. Oh, I also get fatigued. Oh, I have these issues in my family. Oh, should I do, you know, there was just so many things. And at one moment, I just said to myself, okay, now it's enough. You know, it's enough with the self-analysis. I'm just going to live, you know, my life and see what comes up. Because you do need some time for those things to kind of, I don't know how to say it in English, that's a slag, no? Right? You know, for people, for things to just come down a little bit, you know, and you just live and see maybe from all that analysis, what's working, you know, what happens when you just go out and live and do things. Because maybe through all that self-reflection, maybe you actually now know something and you don't need to, you know, put it on a list what I need to do next or what needs to be, you know, now solved and so on. Just live. I hope that's...
Sorry, wait. It's important for me. I wouldn't take the microphone again. From all of... From all of the conclusions and pieces I had, like you described, it's a constant journey. And I'm living at the same time as well. I'm combining everything. I'm taking everything what's life giving me, and I'm also taking what I feel that I need. There is one topic that I simply cannot conclude, and there are fragments all over. And I feel like I want to take all the pieces that I have and kind of face with it. So maybe the right thing would be, of course, to have somebody to personally guide me, but I also feel that the self-inspection and is giving me so much. Mm-hmm. And thank you for your advice to kind of let it go on the side, but I feel like I can collect them all and make one big picture and then say I'm gonna face this once and for all.
I'm just gonna give you one advice that I had a little bit similar question like you 8 years ago that I got from my mindfulness trainer, and she told me, you think when you get everything figured out in your life and you put it in a tiny box and now you understand it and now you know what to do, those feelings are still going to be there. You still need to go through maybe the pain or maybe, I don't know, the sadness or the frustration or whatever is there. you still need, even when you understand everything, you still need to feel whatever is there to be felt. And maybe just give yourself some time to feel whatever is there without, analyzing it and understanding it and logically, attacking it to solve it. Maybe just, sometimes there's a really nice quote, sometimes the only way out is through. So maybe you just need to go through. I mean, I don't know your situation, of course. I'm talking now metaphorically a little bit, but I hope that helps. I think there was one person.
Yes.
Oh, I think, yeah. But if somebody feels like you can also approach later, I mean, if we need to.
Can I go in Serbian?
Yes, for sure.
Dobro veče, moje ime je Anđela i samo da se zahvalim na prenesenom znanju. Htjela bih da pitam da li sa vaše tačke gledišta, po vašem mišljenju i iskustvu, postoji nešto zajedničko za sve osobe koje pate od zavisnosti od određene supstance? Da li je to samokritičnost ili nešto drugo? I kako se ljudi suočavaju sa tim? Da li opet postoji nešto zajedničko što bi svi trebali da osvestimo ako imamo određenu zavisnost?
Pa ja iskreno da budem, I can respond maybe in Serbian. She asked about addiction. What is maybe the whole common thing for people that are going through addiction? Is it self-criticism or something else? I will respond in English because of you. So I'm not an expert on addiction. Like, I work with some addicts, but when I worked in Thailand, I mostly would give the addicts to the experts with addiction. He almost became my client when we were working in Thailand, but I said, no, I'm not going to work with you. So I think one thing that I notice from the ones that I talk with, it's trauma. They all been through trauma. Sometimes, I don't know if you feel okay that I shared your case. Sometimes it's even the trauma when the baby is in belly, literally what was his condition, because his grandpa died when his mother was pregnant with him, and he was born with the navel around his neck. So that's also a form of trauma. So even that, I think that all addiction has a trauma in the background. That's from my experience, yeah.
Thank you. Hvala.
I think that's it. Well, thanks everyone for the questions, for the ones who are here.
Thank you.